G'day everyone. Before we hop into today's vlog, I just want to remind you to please hit that subscribe button. From now on, I'm going to be putting out daily online poker vlogs. We're going to be tracking my process as I play these 6 max online poker cash games 6 out of 7 days of the week. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get the vlogs as they come out. But for now, onto the vlog. G'day everyone, welcome back to the vlog. It is currently about 10 past 5 a.m. here in Melbourne. I've just woken up from my midweek weekend and today I'm getting back into the poker. The plan for today is to start the road towards that 9,000 hands I want to reach by Tuesday next week, because like I said, we're not aiming for specifically 1,500 hands every single day anymore. I just want to give myself a bit of leeway if I just don't feel like I'm able to play my A game. I don't want to just sit there and be forced to just grind it out the whole time. So we're changing the whole strategy up. So hopefully I get as many A grade hands in today as I possibly can. And I'm going to stop when I feel like I'm off my A game, whether I only have, like 800 hands played or if I have like 2,000 hands played, whatever. I'm just aiming to get to that 9,000 by the end of the week, just to make sure I do get in a lot of volume by the end of the week, but hopefully it'll all be, well, at least better volume with this new strategy. So before we go in and start the hands out, I need to get a feed. Let's go eat. Okay, it is about 6 a.m. at the moment. I've just had in a full feed. The feed, it was actually pretty tasty, even though it was only peas and beef. Peas are pretty good, definitely much better than the kale, so happy with the upgrade. Enough about the food, let's get on to the poker. The plan for today is to just grind out as many A-grade level hands as I possibly can. The fact that I did wake up so early, I actually think it's realistic that I'll end up playing a lot more than 1,500, but like I said, I'm not going to set a goal on a specific number of hands I want to play today. I just want to play as many as I can, as many as I feel like I'm still on my A game, still focused, still grinding. To make sure I do play my A game, I'm going to be using the self-talk like I always do. I don't think there's anything specifically that I need to focus on except for that c-betting thing I was talking about earlier. Just be cautious with your c-bet bluffs and really only look to do it in really good spots. Don't go over aggressive with it. So I'll just keep that in mind, as well as the self-talk and making logical adjustments to my opponent's strategy. That's what I always say. Got a plan to do it today to reach that A grade level. So without any further ado, let's get in the game. Welcome back everyone. It is currently 4 p.m. here in Melbourne and I've just wrapped up my second poker session for the day. Was able to play a total of 4 hours and 48 minutes today for a grand total of 1,493 hands. So normally I come on and say, oh, I'm disappointed, I didn't hit my goal. But the thing is, we're not tracking the daily goals anymore. We're just going for 9,000 hands this week. So the fact that I did play only even a little bit less than 1,500, I'm totally satisfied with. It's not going to affect my gameplay grade at all. I'm actually glad I've put this new thing in, because typically I would have seen that number and I would be like, all right, I'll just play 20 more minutes even though I'm tired and tilting a little bit. But it was like, no, if I'm tired and I'm tilting, just stop playing poker. Like, it should be that simple. And with this new ruling set, I feel very comfortable just dropping the game when I'm not playing my best, and worked out for me today, at least in terms of results, because I ended up winning 1,213, which I think is the second biggest win I've booked playing 1-2 exclusively. I don't want to get too caught up in the emotions of having a big win. I think that's bad for you as a poker player long term, so trying to not get too excited at the big win. But something I am pretty happy to get excited about is my gameplay grade from today. And that's because for the first time in far too long, I'm going to give myself an A+ for my gameplay grade today. I think this is one of the best poker sessions I've ever played. online or live. I think I was 100% focused in the game, just five tabling all day. I felt like I had a good grasp of what all of my opponents were up to. If they were, betting too much, or they were, folding too much, or whatever they were doing, I really just keyed in, found out what they were doing. I'm not so sure what was so special about today. Maybe the first day back from my midweek weekend, I was able to tune in and focus really well. Also, I was fully fed in the morning, as you saw. I'm not quite sure what the reason was, but I was 100% in tune, focused. I was just so confident to go with my reads on what my opponents were up to. That's because I was paying attention the whole time, and I just had the discipline to make the big folds, make the thin value bets, or not make the thin value bets, or whatever the case may be. I was just over the moon with how I played today. Very disciplined, very focused, and I think this is potentially the best session I've ever had, just playing 1-2. So definitely over the moon with this one, and feel like I've earned an A+ finally. Very, very happy with how I played throughout the course of today's session. And this next hand, it really goes to show when I do dial in and focus, I can make really disciplined plays that are just a direct response to how my opponent plays poker. Let's get into the hand. The action folds to me on the button, and I have 10 8 of hearts. I go ahead and raise it up to 5, and then a tight aggressive big blind calls. So we're heads up to a flop. It's a banger. It is Queen 3 deuce, all hearts, so we flop an actual flush. Running hot today. The big blind checks it over to me, and I definitely want to go ahead and c-bet my flush for value. I go ahead and make it 4. Then the action's back on the big blind, and they actually decide to check raise it to 14. Obviously, this is good news to us, but I do think we have a pretty interesting decision right now, whether we want to go ahead and 3-bet or just call. The reasons I would like 3-betting here are if my opponent is check raise semi-bluffing with a hand that's like the ace of hearts, like 10 of clubs, for example, I definitely think they're going to go ahead and call a 3-bet, being that they're drawing to the nuts. Additionally, they could be doing a check raise with pocket 2s, pocket 3s, 2-3 suited, queen 3 suited. They have a bunch of 2-pair and set combos here that are going to call as well when I do re-raise. Having said that though, I do actually think calling is the better option, and the reason is I think a tight aggressive opponent who is clearly playing poker to try and win, I think they're going to be disciplined enough to know that when I do go ahead and 3-bet here, that I'm repping a pretty polarized range, which is either a made flush or the nut flush draw. And I think because they have a lot of nut flush draws in their range, they're probably going to be able to put me on a flush when they do have the ace of hearts themselves, and they're just going to play really good, not only against my 3-bet itself, but against me and my specific hand throughout the course of this hand. So I think for that reason, it's a really good spot to mix some really strong hands in your calling range here, like a made flush, for example. Also, I like just calling here because I do have to be a little bit cautious that I may be behind. Obviously, I don't have the nuts here, and my opponent calling out of the big blind, they definitely do have a whole lot of ace-x suited hands, and probably all of the king-x suited hands, as well as some queen-x suited. So obviously I don't have the nuts here, so it is kind of good to be a bit cautious. Like if this hand went, 3-bet, 4-bet all in on the flop, I've got to be pretty concerned that I'm not ahead. So it is a good spot to be a bit cautious as well. So I like calling for all those reasons. And on my A game today, I do decide to just call on the flop, and then we go heads up to a turn, which is the 10 of spades. Then things get kind of interesting because the big blind actually decides to check it over to me. I wasn't really expecting them to do that. I thought if they did have a strong hand like a made flush, or they were semi-bluffing with a nut flush draw, and they played that hand as a check raise on the flop, I definitely thought they'd just keep betting it on the turn here. But the fact that they did check, I think they've made a read that I probably wasn't going to be 3-betting the flop often on this board in particular, and that when I do call, it is actually a strong range of hands. And I'm just basing this off the fact of noticing the different bet sizes my opponent does use and how they play poker. I think they're pretty knowledgeable, and they probably do have a good read of dynamics like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that they don't have many flushes when they do check here. I think it's a lot more likely they did flop one of those 2 pairs or a set, and they're pretty concerned when I do call. Also, the nut flush draw as well is definitely a hand they could be slowing down with, trying to play a bit more cautious when they do understand my calling range is pretty strong. So I don't actually think their range is that strong when they do check here, and obviously we can go ahead and bet very comfortably for value with our flush here. I go ahead and make it 33, trying to size up. Think I'm going to get a lot of value here from sets, from the nut flush draw. If anything, I probably could bet even bigger
just because I think my opponent is going to check call a lot, considering all these dynamics I've listed. So probably could go even bigger than 33. I go 33 though, and then my opponent does call. So we're heads up to a river, which is the Queen of Diamonds. The big blind checks it over to me, and I'll be honest here, this is probably the worst river in the deck. Any queen is obviously bad for us because we do lose to all the sets now, or the flopped 2 pairs, except for 2-3, which we beat. But the thing here is, if I do go ahead and bet my flush for value, I don't actually think I can be called by a worse hand. Maybe if my opponent took this weird line with like a 5 high flush, a 6 high flush, something like that, maybe I could get value from that hand, but I just think it's so unlikely that they do have that hand in their range when they play it as a check, raise, check. I think it's more likely that they either do have the 2 pairs, the sets on the flop, which are now full houses, we now lose to, or they just have the nut flush draw, which obviously they're gonna like fold when we bet. They might even bluff raise. So I actually think betting on this river for value would be a big mistake. Obviously not looking to bluff any hands either here. So I think the best move here is to just check, as sick as it is to check behind a flush on the river here. I just don't think there's any value to have with a bet. So on my A game today, I do check it behind, and then my opponent shows pocket 3s. So stoked that we didn't lose any more money when we did get behind on the river. And looking back at the hand, I'm really happy with my check on the river. There's just no value to be had there. And our opponent is obviously going to raise with their full house, and then we're going to have to fold anyway. And it's just a really good spot to go ahead and check behind a weaker flush like I had. If I did have a hand like the nut flush, I think the decision's a bit closer there, but with this flush, I think it is a slam dunk spot to check back. And I'm glad I was focused in on the type of opponent I was against and the hands in their range. So I just zoomed in, focused, and made a really good check back, in my opinion at least. Let me know what you think. Hop in the comments below on the river. Do you think there is merit to betting for value? Maybe my opponent did take a weird line with a queen, because they'll probably call a bet with a queen, right, if calling down the whole way, or a worse flush. Hop in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the river's decision. Do you go ahead and bet for value, or do you play it cautious like me and check on the river? Hop in the comments below. Let me know what you think. That's going to wrap up the vlog for today. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. That really helps out the channel. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Also helps out the channel. But for now, I'm out of here. Peace.